Today's tale of tabletop triumph is another one from me. This time we meet up with a fellow who finally got a chance to play the D&D game he always wanted to. Before we begin, if you like this video, please consider clicking the subscribe button and the bell icon for notification, and leave a like and a comment. That said, let's go. Most of my games are online these days, unfortunately. It's not by choice, and I do consider virtual gaming the same as the real thing. Long-distance gaming by telephone was the thing all the way back at the dawn of RPGs. But occasionally, I do get to play at a real tabletop, although it's most frequently with strangers at my FLGS. So this story happened prior to the pandemic, just to give you a frame of reference for when it happened. My FLGS was hosting a big event for the store's anniversary, and I'd been asked to come in and run a tabletop game experience for the day. I decided on first edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, since having people come and game for a few hours or even just for a few minutes and then leave works best when a character can be created quickly and easily with those rules. I don't like to brag, but I have a huge, massive collection of Dwarven Forge and miniatures I like to use, and in-store events like this were always a big draw due to the spread of dungeon terrain and minis. The game that day was slated to start in the early afternoon, and during the morning I was there dutifully setting up everything I brought. Boxes and boxes of dungeon terrain, miniatures, and so on, going by my maps and notes. This always brings curious onlookers, and there was a fellow who stuck around for a good while as I put the finishing touches on the dungeon. Is this Warhammer?" he asked. "Nope, AD&D, my friend." I held up the Dungeon Master's Guide. He asked if he could look at the book, and I told him sure, no problem. He handled it carefully and leafed through it like it was a rare antique. He had this faraway look in his eyes. After taking a while to page through it, he said, with a sad tinge to his voice, "You know, when I was in middle school in the 80s, I really wanted to play, but the guys who played didn't want me in their game." I thought about this for a second and said, "Cool, go in the store and pick up some dice and come out and grab a chair. We're going to start soon." He looked like I'd thrown a bucket of cold water on him, and then he stammered, "No, I don't know how. I never learned how." Now I was determined to get him at the table. "Don't worry about that," I said. "Just go get some dice and come back and sit down and get ready to play. You'll run a fighter." He came back with a lovely set of red dice his wife had picked out for him there in the store and sat down. Other folks arrived, and people who'd signed up beforehand all got there at the appointed starting time, and off we went. Our new player dove headlong into the game. He glommed onto the folks who arrived late, filling them in on everything they'd done so far and what the status of the party was. The dungeon terrain layout was huge, and there were parts of the dungeon that some players on the far end of the table couldn't see, so my dude would jump up and go take shots with his phone to show the people down at his end of the table. The game went on for hours, with the party hacking and slaying their way through a trap-filled dungeon, smiting undead, fighting off a minor demon here or there, and putting down the occasional room full of monster humanoids. He had a ball. Eventually, due to time constraints, he did have to leave, but he thanked me and the other players at the table profusely for letting him play. He said it was an absolute blast, and said he'd look for the rule books online to try and find a local game to join up with. I really hope he followed through, and I was glad that I could finally give him a chance to play D&D the way he never got back in the day. So folks, there you go. Never say never to someone who seems to have a genuine love for fantasy and a desire to give the game a try. I understand the importance of vetting a player for long-term campaigns, but on this occasion, I took a chance and I was able to make someone's day, and maybe you can be that someone for somebody who always wanted to play regardless of the game, whether it's Dungeons and Dragons or just something completely different that you enjoy. If they've never gotten a chance to play and they seem like they're interested, give them a shot. What's the worst that could happen? You'll make a memorable experience for someone who's never gotten that opportunity. Thanks for listening, have a wonderful day, and be positive. I'll talk to you guys next time on Tales of Tabletop Triumph.